Well, thank you, and please remain standing for the reading of the Land and Labor Acknowledgement. The University of Michigan is located on the territory of the Anishinaabe people. The Ann Arbor campus resides on land ceded through the Treaty of Detroit in 1807. Additionally, in 1817, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations made the largest single land transfer to the University of Michigan, ceded through the Treaty of Fort Meigs, with the agreement that their children would be educated in perpetuity. We assert the sovereignty of tribal lands and acknowledge the painful historical and ongoing genocide, forced assimilation, and displacement of Native communities in establishing the university. We affirm contemporary and ancestral Anishinaabe ties to this land, the profound contributions of Native American peoples to this institution, and the university's commitment to educating the children of Native ancestors. We further recognize that whether you are on campus in Ann Arbor or elsewhere in the United States, we stand on land developed at the often fatal expense of forcefully enslaved Black people. We acknowledge that much of this country, including its culture, economic growth, and development, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horror of the transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and dehumanization through segregation and Jim Crow laws. We remember those who did not survive the Middle Passage, those who were beaten and lynched, and those who are still suffering while fighting for their freedom. We are indebted to their labor and unwilling sacrifice and acknowledge the violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact and generational trauma still felt today. The fights against settler colonialism and anti-Blackness will always be inextricably linked to the land, to the collective, and to the ancestors. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. You may please be seated. Greetings. I would like to thank you for being a part of today's ceremony. I would also like to thank and recognize the platform guests made up of faculty and staff who are with us today, and recognizing our graduates and celebrating the graduation of our Asian student community at the University of Michigan. Thank you all for being here. It is now my honor to introduce Dr. Angela Dillard. Dr. Dillard is the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education and the Interim Vice Provost for Access and Opportunity at the University of Michigan, former Chair of the Department of History in the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts, LS&A, and the Richard A. Meisler Collegiate Professor of Afro-American and African Studies and History. She also maintains affiliated faculty status within the residential college, where she is a member of the Social Theory and Practice program. Dr. Dillard is an interdisciplinary scholar trained in history and political theory with a PhD in American Studies from U of M's Department of American Culture. She specializes in American and African American intellectual history, particularly around issues of race, religion, and politics on both the left and the right sides of the political spectrum. Please help me welcome Dr. Angela Dillard.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. On behalf of Provost Lori McCauley and all of us lucky enough to be members of the Provost Office area known as Access and Opportunity, it's a pleasure to offer my welcome and my congratulations. What a treat to be with you as we recognize our class of 2026 graduates and celebrate the graduation of our Asian student community at the University of Michigan. The Asian Student Celebration, formerly titled Asian and Pacific Islander Celebration, was first held in April 2018. This annual event celebrates graduating students of East Asian, Southeast Asian communities and recognizes their individual and collective contributions to the university. The ceremony acknowledges the value and uniqueness of the Asian student experience and serves to commemorate the accomplishments of students who participate in the celebration. I'm going to go just a little bit off script, with apologies to the CART services folks, and say that all of us in Access and Opportunity, A&O, which includes the Office of Academic Multicultural Initiatives, have been delighted to participate in this week's series of student-organized and OAMI-supported cultural celebrations that remind us of the rich tapestries of cultures and languages and histories across this campus and the student body that we serve. I'm especially pleased to be here with so many colleagues from student life and the undergraduate education community, including my 3 assistant vice provosts, Debbie Willis, Catalina Ormsby, and most especially here among this particular community of students, faculty, and staff, the wonderful Marie Ting. Let me go a little further off script and wonder aloud whether Emily Liu is here. She's a member of the class of 2026 who presented on her history honors thesis this morning, titled Becoming Asian American, Student Activism, Identity Formation, and the Creation of APIA Studies at the University of Michigan, 1972 to 1999. Her archival and oral history research breathes life into the history of legacy on which this community stands, and it was really wonderful to hear from her this morning. To the families, friends, and loved ones here, and those cheering from afar, this accomplishment belongs to you too. Your support, your sacrifices, and your belief made this moment possible. Thank you for all that you have done. Now, graduates, most of my remarks are for you. This is one of the many celebrations this week that you'll participate in. From the Michigan Stadium, where we will award our 1 millionth degree, to departmental ceremonies, you are being recognized across this campus, and I hope you're taking the time to fully embrace it. Milk it for all it's worth and savor the sweetness. You've earned it, and we know that this institution did not always make it easy. My late godmother, Clementine McLean, someone whom I admired and loved fiercely, used to say that if you want to cultivate wisdom, you should start by asking questions and by listening more than you speak. If time and space permitted, I'd love nothing more than to sit with you this afternoon and ask you questions. Questions like, what has the journey really been like for you? Not just the highlights, the friends you made, the awards you received, mastering a new concept or a new language, the nerdy but cool professors you met, and maybe even the national championship that you celebrated. But what about the moments when things didn't go as planned? The classes that didn't click, the times you doubted yourself, the moments when the institution let you down, the days when you just didn't feel like showing up. As someone who specializes in leading collaborative efforts to broaden access, deepen opportunity, and foster student success across the capacious higher ed landscape that is the University of Michigan, it's the second set of questions and answers that intrigue me the most. While graduation ceremonies are often about success, and rightfully so, I want to spend a few minutes asking us to reflect on the F word, the other F word, failure. It probably doesn't find its way into too many graduation addresses, but maybe it should. Nelson Mandela once said, "Don't judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." That's a powerful reframing. It suggests that failing isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. Because if we're honest, success alone doesn't shape us. Character is built somewhere else. It's built in the setbacks. It's built in risking failure and defeat because you refuse to take the easy way out, seeking to do what's right as opposed to what's expedient. So here's my advice to you on the occasion of your commencement. Fail. Not carelessly, not without intention, but bravely. Or as Denzel Washington put it, if you don't fail, you're not even trying. To do something you never had, you have to do something you never did. I think all of us gathered here this afternoon know the harder truth. Failure, and more broadly, struggle, is not optional in life. No matter how thoughtful we are, how prepared, how talented, we cannot engineer a life that avoids disappointment, loss, or uncertainty. We cannot do everything right and still encounter moments that shake us. That's not a flaw in the system, that is the system. And while that might sound discouraging, there's something important on the other side of it. Struggle also has potential. Again, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. When things fall apart, or when we fall short, it has a way of revealing what really matters to us. It clarifies what we value, where we've placed our confidence, and what we're made of. Pressure doesn't just test us, it teaches us. It can humble us. It can deepen our self-awareness. It can make us more compassionate, more grounded, more resilient. It can strip away what doesn't matter and leave behind something stronger, more honest, more durable. But that outcome is not automatic. Failure can just as easily make people bitter, stuck, or disengaged. The difference comes down to how we respond. So what does it mean for us to respond well to failure? First, we ought not to pretend we're unaffected. There's a temptation, especially among you high achievers, to push through, to keep a stiff upper lip, to act like nothing phases you, leaders and best. But growth doesn't come from denial. It comes from engagement and being accountable to ourselves and others. When something hurts, acknowledge it, learn from it, sit with it long enough to understand what it's trying to teach you. Second, we need to hold fast to our values, both the ones that we came here with, derived from our families and our cultures, and those we have refined through experience and judgment. In difficult moments, it's easy to justify shortcuts, to do things that pull you away from who you want to be. Character isn't built when things are easy. It's revealed when things are not. And finally, keep going. The most remarkable thing about all of you here today is not that your path was perfect or easy. It's that you stayed on it, you adjusted, pivoted. You showed up again and again. You learned, recalibrated, and moved forward. That's not just persistence, that's leadership. And you are the leaders that the world needs now. Now, I know you are likely to hear that often across the ceremonies that you will attend this week. It's a familiar refrain, and one that institutions like ours return to with some regularity in self-congratulatory ways as we claim credit for all that you will do. It can sound cliche at times, but that doesn't mean that it isn't also a perfectly correct statement of fact. More than one thing can be true simultaneously. Our world is a hot mess. With sea levels rising, poisonous chemicals accumulating, violent forms of policing, mass incarceration, environmental injustices, social decay, authoritarian politics, and heartbreaking moments of beauty and joy and human solidarity. We don't just need your accomplishments. We need your curiosity. We need your courage. We need your willingness to take risk. And yes, we need your bold and epic failures. Hail to the fail. Try things that might not work. Take paths that aren't guaranteed. Fall down and get back up again. And when you do, know that you're not starting over, you're starting wiser. My graduation wish for you is that you leave this place as alums infused with pride, with purpose, and with a deep belief that you belong in every space you enter, knowing full well that you have the power to transform those spaces for the better. Thank you for all that you have given to the University of Michigan. Congratulations, class of 2026, and as always, go blue.
Thank you, Dr. Dillard, for sharing your words with our graduates. At this time, I invite Miao, a student member of the 2026 Asian Student Planning Committee, to share with you why this year's theme, Interwoven Journeys, is intertwined with your time here at the university and throughout your next story. Miao is a graduating junior majoring in biochemistry.
Thank you, Dr. Borja. As a member of the Asian Student Planning Committee, I am honored to be here. The 2026 Asian Student Celebration theme, Interwoven Journeys, ties together the concepts of photos and threads of fate. It illustrates the idea that all graduating students have unique journeys, but are also interwoven with the journeys of other students within the college community. The memories captured by photos represent snapshots of the students' journeys throughout their years at U of M. The idea of photos was inspired by the concept of capture your best moment, often associated with college, where many people find their dreams and goals. Photos are captured in various ways, and the two most common among college students are photo booths and Polaroids. The threads of fate came from the concept that students had the opportunity to influence their own fates in college. Oftentimes, the decision they make allow their fates to cross with others, resulting in the formation of meaningful connections and relationships. The threads of fate represent the idea that college is also the place where students' paths overlap or interconnect with others through various means. The booklet art design involves four individual panels depicting the theme of interwoven journeys for our graduates. The front cover features several students standing in front of the photo booth, ready to take photos. One of them wears a bracelet that is woven with red thread, symbolizing the initiation of the students' interwoven journeys. The second panel shows a front view of a student's desk setup, highlighting a garland of Polaroid photos clipped to a string made of red thread. The Polaroid photos convey various social activities students participate in, such as eating, dancing, and watching a football game. The third panel shows a group of students sitting around a photo book on a table outside the Michigan Union. The photo book has a bookmark woven with red thread, and the students are choosing which photos to include. The last panel shows the same photo book lying open on the grass, with the red woven bookmark resting on the open page. A bright beam of sunshine hits the page as photos from the photo book fly out and into the air, representing new journeys that the students will embark on after graduation. The booklet's art style was inspired by the tones of Studio Ghibli. Congratulations to the class of 2026. Thank you, and forever go blue.
Thank you, Emiel, for sharing your thoughts and the planning committee's vision in choosing the theme and artwork for this year's booklet. I'd now like to introduce OAMI Kuperker. OAMI is a graduating junior majoring in biopsychology, cognition, and neuroscience, and part of the 2026 Asian Student Planning Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Borja. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker, Ms. Aisha Ghazi Edwin. Aisha Ghazi Edwin is an assistant clinical professor at the University of Michigan School of Social Work and a public servant dedicated to advancing equity and civic participation. She is an Indian Asian immigrant and the granddaughter of refugees, experiences that have shaped her lifelong commitment to immigrant rights, justice, and advocacy within the Asian American and other marginalized communities. Aisha has a long history of organizing and advocacy within Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. She previously served as the executive director of American Citizens for Justice, conducting voting rights work with API Vote Michigan, and helped found a South Asian immigration rights organization called South Asian Voices for Impact. In 2021, Aisha was appointed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer and confirmed by the Michigan Senate to serve as chair of the Michigan Asian Pacific American Affairs Commission, becoming the first South Asian, first woman, and youngest person to serve as chair of the commission. Under her leadership, MAPAAC has focused on uplifting historically marginalized AAN-HBI ethnic identity groups and advancing policy priorities, including expanding language access, advocating for integrating Asian American history in K-22 education, uplifting voting rights protections, and supporting immigration rights and protections. As chair, she has helped expand the Commission's grant-making to local AAN-HBI community-based organizations across Michigan, directing more funding to grassroots groups than any other state commission, and strengthening organizations working to serve and uplift our communities. Aisha also serves as an elected member of Ann Arbor City Council, representing a city with one of the largest Asian American populations in the state. In this role, she is focused on advancing policies related to housing affordability, disability access and equity, workers' rights, and protecting the rights and well-being of immigrant and other marginalized communities. Aisha's journey is a powerful reminder of what it means to lead with purpose, to uplift others, and to create lasting change. So this afternoon, as we celebrate all of you, we're honored to learn from someone who truly embodies that spirit. Please join me in giving a big, enthusiastic welcome to Aisha Ghazi Edwin.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. So congratulations, class of 2026. I want you all to take a moment and look around this room. These are the people who carried you through. The people who stayed up with you, talked you through hard moments, celebrated you in the good ones, and reminded you who you were when you may have forgotten. You made it here. You belong here, not despite where you come from, but because of it. I also want to be honest with you. You are graduating into a moment of deep uncertainty. We are witnessing rising anti-immigrant sentiment, the erosion of civil liberties, people being disappeared from their communities, families being separated, protests being criminalized, and state-sponsored violence condoned, and fear being used as a political strategy, alongside war and colonial occupation being carried out in our names. But this is not new. This country has always been a deeply anti-immigrant country. The target just changes. At one point, it was the Irish, the Italians, the Jews, then Chinese immigrants, Japanese Americans, then Muslims, then undocumented families, and the list goes on. The pattern is consistent, and it is built on something deeper. It's a system rooted in anti-Blackness, a hierarchy that teaches us that some people belong here more than others. And once a society accepts that idea, the only question becomes, who really is next? And as you graduate into this world, I ask you to always ask yourself, who is controlling the narrative? Who benefits and who is being left behind? Because when we tolerate discrimination against one group, the systems built for them is eventually used against all of us. ICE, for example, and the Department of Homeland Security was created in the wake of 9/11, fueled by fear and Islamophobia, when deeply troubling policies like the Patriot Act were born and targeted our South Asian, Muslim, Arab, and Sikh communities. Now these same systems are targeting and terrorizing so many others. The infrastructure built in that moment did not stay contained to one community, because it never does. That's why each of you must fight every single time and must fight these narratives in all of their forms. I know this not just from history, but from my own story. My family immigrated here when I was 3. My grandmother was a refugee from Burma, today Myanmar, and fled when the bombing started during the partition of India. My grandfather fought in World War II against the Nazis with Britain, and then left the British Army to fight for India's independence when he understood the system he was a part of. They knew what divide and conquer looked like, and they decided to speak up. I grew up in a family that held similar tensions. My mom is from north of India, Hindu and light-skinned. My dad is from the south of India, dark-skinned and Muslim. And within my own family, I saw how colorism and anti-Blackness showed up, especially with a sister who's part white. I saw the bottles of Fair & Lovely skin lightening creams on relatives' dressers. I heard the encouragement from aunties to stay out of the sun, to carry umbrellas, and to preserve lightness. I saw how deeply hierarchies of Islamophobia and colorism have been internalized. And I saw how hate can be used to divide us. And today, my family has expanded to include people who are Jewish and Christian as well. We have become like the United Nations of families. And although at times we are like a microcosm of the world, it has also taught me how deeply important it is to have hard conversations with others. And growing up here as an immigrant, I often felt the way that many of you have likely felt before. Like you are straddling the boundary of two worlds, never fully accepted by either, never quite from anywhere enough to truly belong. And so I did what some of you can potentially also relate to. To fit in, I changed myself. I straightened my hair. I wore colored contacts. My sister never failed to remind me that I looked like I was from the movie Children of the Corn when I had them in. I asked teachers to use the name Ida because I was so afraid of my name being mispronounced, like Aisha, yes, like the song. But post 9/11 was a stark reminder that I was different no matter what I changed. I'll never forget when my mom, a child mental health professional who works at this university, was on her way to a conference in New York City and had the flight suddenly grounded by the FBI. They detained and questioned her, accusing her of reading a magazine that allegedly had "There's a bomb on this plane" scribbled in the margins of an article she had been reading. My brother was with her, confused and scared at only 11 years old. It wasn't until I found Asian American organizing later in my adult life that I began to fully gain an identity of my own. And I began to understand something, that the parts of my identity that I had once tried to hide were actually what could drive change and were connected to an American story. I began to realize the power of my experiences and the power of learning and sharing stories. I learned the story of Vincent Chin, a Chinese-American man killed in Detroit in 1982 by men who blamed him for the decline of the auto industry. He was out celebrating his bachelor party when two men began yelling racial slurs at him and beat him to death with a baseball bat. His last words were, "It's not fair." And it wasn't fair. The men charged with his murder only paid a fine of $3,000 and spent no time in jail, with the judge saying at the time, "These aren't the kind of men you send to jail." The incident caused national outrage and galvanized an Asian American civil rights movement that brought different ethnic and racial groups together calling for justice. This solidarity ultimately led to Chin's case being the first federal hate crime to ever be prosecuted in our nation that involved an Asian American victim. And Professor Roland Wang, on stage with us right now, was one of the attorneys and advocates instrumental in making that happen. I also learned about Larry Itliong, a Filipino labor organizer who started the Delano grape strike. He knew that the strike and the movement for farm workers would fail if just Filipino workers acted alone. So he reached out to Cesar Chavez and convinced him to get Mexican workers involved. And despite Itliong's name being often forgotten in the history books, he understood something fundamental, that no movement is won by one group fighting alone. I learned about Fred Korematsu, a Japanese American who refused to comply with the US government's order to incarcerate Japanese Americans during World War II. He was charged by the US government for defying their orders, and he challenged that injustice all the way to the Supreme Court, knowing that he might lose. And he did lose. But his resistance became a tool that others could use to challenge unjust systems. Because when one person refuses to accept injustice, it creates a possibility for everyone who comes after. And that fits with the theme of today's celebration. Our journeys are truly interwoven, and for our survival, they must be. In my Asian American organizing work, I've seen that same truth over and over and over again. I saw the power of stories being shared and being interwoven, the power and necessity of organizing across differences and standing in allyship with one another. I saw East Asians fight for voting rights for Bangladeshi voters in Detroit, which eventually became part of a federal case. I saw Japanese Americans rise up post 9/11 and say never again. I saw South Asian advocates fight against the rise in anti-East Asian hate during COVID-19. And this kind of solidarity has always been essential for real change to happen. And so I ask you to not just learn to tell your own story, but to learn how your stories are interwoven with the struggles and the stories of others. And during this time of self-education, I also learned that my family would probably not be here right now or would have been able to immigrate to this country if it wasn't for Black activists like the Black Panther Party marching in 1965, demanding an end to decade-long barring of Asian immigrants to this country. I assume many of you may not be here as well if it wasn't for that activism. Asian Americans joined that fight, but in no way could this have been won and achieved if they had marched alone. It's a reminder that we must show up to fight for other marginalized groups, because when we march for others, they too can march for us when we may not be able to. And remembering this now is more important than ever before, because we are on the precipice of big shifts. Asian Americans are the fastest growing racial and ethnic group in Michigan and in the United States. By 2060, our population is projected to reach nearly 45 million people. Even today, our community has the power to swing elections. We are one of the most diverse groups linguistically, culturally, religiously, and politically, and we are not a monolith. That is our strength. Research shows that groups with greater internal diversity generate more creative and effective solutions because they draw from a wider range of perspectives. So remember that in this room, with all of your diversity, there is also immense strength. And with that diversity also comes the responsibility to push back against being lumped together. As Asian Americans, we must push back against harmful generalizations like the model minority myth, which depicts all Asian Americans as high-achieving, hardworking, and high earners. That we can't and we don't experience discrimination, economic inequality, poverty, oppression, despite the reality. And this myth has harmed us, and it has been weaponized and used against others. But like other groups, we have struggled, and we are not all the same. In fact, when you look closely at Asian Americans in this country, you see high levels of wealth, and you also see high levels of stark poverty. You see that smaller, newer immigrant groups, many from war-torn countries who've come here as refugees, like Mongolian, Hmong Americans, Bhutanese, and others, experience poverty levels that are almost twice the national average. And you find that specifically Burmese women make some of the lowest wages of all individuals in our country. But all of these disparities disappear when you lump us all together, which affects funding that our community receives. Which is why we must continue to advocate to desegregate Asian American data. We also must learn to tell our stories of the past and of the present, of migration, of poverty, and of success. We must use our stories to challenge the narrative of what a real American looks like. We must push back against nativism and learn that in actuality, our country's racial and ethnic demographics today don't exist because certain groups first discovered this nation, or certain groups were always meant to be here, but instead because immigration laws and policies have deliberately shaped who was allowed to be here and now who is here today. And this history and our stories matter because stories don't just inform people, they move people. Research shows that stories are one of the most powerful tools we have to combat hate and counter discrimination. They help us see that most people are more similar than they are different, that most of us want the same things. And we all want to be heard and seen in all of our complexities, beyond the ways we try to oversimplify one another. And when we share stories, something amazing happens in our brains and something shifts. There are moments where we realize that this person is more like me than I thought. and fear begins to break down, and we begin to see each other as human. And every movement we have talked about today involved people sharing their stories and helping others see the world differently. And so I ask each of you to think about your own story. Start with the change that you want to make in the world and who you want to be. And then ask yourself, what struggle have you lived or watched someone else live that connects you to that change? What choice did you make in those moments of struggle? What did that struggle teach you and that choice teach you about who you are and what you want to become in this world? That thread, from your values to your struggle, to your choices, to the change you want to make in the world, that is your story. Practice telling it over and over again. And learn to listen to the stories of others, especially people who disagree with you, not to win, but to understand. Because the only way to fight nativism is to show each other that we are more alike than different. And when someone who doesn't look like you or vote like you or praise like you begins to see your humanity and you begin to see theirs, that is how movements grow, and that's how movements win. Because our interdependence is not just strategy, it is survival. And I also ask you to see yourself in places of power, to step into leadership, to run for office, to join boards and commissions, and to speak up. Because representation matters and could help someone else who feels like they don't belong here realize that they too belong and can make a difference. And finally, to the allies in this room as well, white supremacy tells us that that belonging means sameness. But your families also immigrated from somewhere too. There is culture, history, migration, struggle, and beauty in your stories. I ask you to find it. And if you do not like everything you find, build a new story for later generations. I also want to make something clear. Most Black Americans did not come here as immigrants. They helped build this nation, and then we're told they don't belong. But there are stories of survival, resistance, brilliance, and power, and movements of freedom that ultimately changed our nation for everyone. Find those stories and honor them. And for Indigenous people, your ancestors didn't come from anywhere else. This was always your land. Your stories are one of sovereignty, of resistance, of survival against a system designed to erase you. Find those stories too. In closing, I want you to each to take a moment and to look around this room again, to the people beside you, behind you, and in front of you. However different your lives may be, your stories share something. Find what they share. Because when we see how deeply interwoven our journeys are with one another, that's when the fabric of our lives and of our communities becomes stronger. The people who came before us fought without knowing if it would matter. You are proof that it did. And what you do next will shape what and who comes after you. Congratulations, class of 2026. Now go build what comes next, and go blue.
Please give our keynote, Aisha Ghazi Edwin, another round of applause. Your message to our graduates was really thoughtful and wise, so thank you. And we appreciate you being here and sharing in the celebration of our graduates. Now at this point, it's time to celebrate our 2026 graduates. We want to, let's applaud there. We want to celebrate you as an individual who make up this wonderful community. Family, friends, and loved ones here today, please feel free to express your celebration of your graduate as they walk across the stage. Marshals, please step forward now to lead our graduates to the podium. Okay, please welcome our two name readers, Dr. Neeraja Aravamudan, Director of the Ginsberg Center for Community Service and Learning, and Roland Huang, JD, Lecturer in the Asian Pacific Islander American Studies Program. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Borja. Graduates, upon handing your name cards to the readers, please proceed to shake hands with Dr. Angela Dillard and Vice President for Student Life, Dr. Martino Harmon. And you'll receive your cord from Aisha Ghazi-Edwin and Dr. Ting. And you can continue across to exit the stage right and take your seats. Do you have a card? Email Young. O. Parkicker. Taryn Daki Song. BS, Biology, Health, and Society. Erin Segi, BA, Communications and Psychology. Sophia Beatrice Gestadata, Bachelor of Science, Movement Science. Layla Vaughn, BA Psychology. Alexa Brockway, Bachelor of Arts, degree, Poli-Sci. Carolyn Potter, BA, Public Policy. Angela Louis, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, nursing with a minor in entrepreneurship. Angelica Ann Alpas, Bachelor of Science, Nursing. Isabel Lamug, Bachelor of Science, Biochemistry and Biophysics. Ashani Das, Bachelor's degree, Computer Science. Andrea Celeste Vo, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology. Mina Vu, Bachelor of Arts, English. Ashika Gupta, Bachelor of Science in Engineering and Computer Science. Sophia Bodun, Bachelor of Arts, Program in the Environment. Dominique Diokno, Bachelor of Arts, Arts and Ideas and Psychology. Emmanuel Pascua, Psychology BA, Psychology major. Rhea Dan Mara Sigan, Bachelor's degree, Nuclear Engineering and Radiological Sciences. Tony Liu, Bachelor of Arts, Political Science and English. Vincent Nathaniel Marabao, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health, and Society. Melinda Jiaying Chong, Bachelor's degree, Computer Science. Brian Song, Bachelor of Science and Art, Computer Science and Creative Writing. Advika Suranila, Bachelor's degree, BCN, Nursing. Sydney Ng, undergraduate, Bachelor of Science, Pharmaceutical Sciences. Seyun Chang, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health, and Society. Vidha Harini Servinas, Bachelor of Science, Microbiology. Tiffany Zhang, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health and Society, and Cognitive Science. Yifei Peng, Bachelor of Science, Computer Science, and Cognitive Science. Kening Zhao, Bachelors of Science, Computer Science. Brandon Shin, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Computer Engineering. Mari Park, BS, Pharmaceutical Science. Roshan Kawaguchi Sadhu, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Computer Science. Keian Ono, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health and Society. Jalia Yang, BS Neuroscience, Bachelor's in Science, major in Neuroscience. Gorma Lee, BS degree, Psychology. Emily Demlow, BA, Communications and Media, major in Communications and Media.
Carrie Wang, Bachelor's of Science, Actuarial Mathematics. Falak Suteri, Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. Linda Rue, Bachelor's in Science, Data Science and Statistics. Matthew Sun, Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science. Callie Thevan, Bachelor's in UX Design. Angel Win, Bachelor of Science in Information Science and major in Business Administration. Ni Tong, Bachelor of Science, Applied Exercise Science. Ridley Fawn, Bachelor of Science, Biomolecular Science. Raymond Wynn, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health and Society. Ivan Li Jing Mao, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Angela Zheng, Bachelor of Science, Biomedical Engineering. Shidong Li, BA in Psychology. Okay, Yurjing Chi, Bachelor of Science in Movement Science. Nok Tin Dai, Bachelor of Science, Computer Science. Nyok Lee, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health and Society. Jun Hok Ko, Bachelor's of Science in Biology, Health and Society. Chin Ki Lee, BS in Data Science and Statistics, double major. Xiaojing Wang, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Gayatri Panda, Bachelor's of Arts in Economics. Shreya Palmani, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, International Studies, and minor in Business. Mei Ting Xu, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy, Politics, and Economics. Navya Kumar, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Computer Science and Engineering. Vu Lam Lu, Bachelor of Science in Economics. Michelle Wu, Bachelor of Science in Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Isabel Chan, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Health, and Society. Grace Huai Hong, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Tiffany Huang, Bachelor of Science, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Ji Hun Choi, Bachelor of Political Science. Kristen Su, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Nisharika Kishan, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Helen Wu, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and International Studies. Tyler Tuan Nguyen, Bachelor in International Studies, minor in Asian Pacific Islander American Studies. Ames Lin, Bachelor of Arts in History. Isabel Long, Bachelor of Science in American Culture. Sarah Lynn, Bachelor's in Psychology.
Dharana Sharma, Psychology BS, Psychology. Bao Wei Feng, BS degree, Statistics. Ania Mason, BS degree, Biology, Health and Society, International Studies. Sammy Huang, Bachelor of Science in Information and Bachelor of Arts, Design and Communications and Media. Nicole Chung, Bachelor of Science, Psychology. Sasha Lee, Bachelor's in Mechanical Engineering. Samantha Nicole Lorzano, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Mechanical Engineering. Ria Sudhihara, Bachelor of Science, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Amrita Kondor, Bachelor of Science, Neuroscience. And with that, we conclude the bachelor's class. Please join me in giving a round of applause to the Asian Student Celebration, Class of 2026, graduating bachelors.
I am thrilled to begin the reading of the graduating Asian Student Celebration Master's students. Come on up. Okay. We got Mridul Agarwal, Master of Accounting in the Ross School of Business, Accounting Analytics. Agniva Baumik, MSc and Biomedical Engineering Masters, Biomedical Engineering. Okay. Hilary Luan, a Master's in Computer Science. Michael Vu, MBA, Masters of Business Administration. Shin-Hee Wang, Master of Science in Information. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Okay. Rizwana Islam, Master of Science in Environmental Science and Sustainability. Glonia Shenjing Shuo, Master of Science in Survey and Data Science. Roy Shang, Master of Science, Biostatistics. Sarah Jin, Master's in Transcultural Studies.
That concludes the master's class. Please join me in giving a round of applause to the Asian Student Celebration Class of 2026 graduating masters. We are excited to begin the courting and hooding of our graduate, doctoral, and professional degree students. Students, please stay on the stage until all students have been hooded and photography has been concluded, and then we will make your way to be courted. Sarah Day-Dayon, PhD, Educational Studies.
I am excited to present to you the Asian Student Celebration Class of 2026 doctoral students. Please join me in giving a round of applause to our doctoral students. Our celebration would not have been possible without the hard work of our Asian Student Celebration Planning Committee and coordinator. Please join me in welcoming our Asian Student Celebration Coordinator, Ms. Julia Barron of the Office of Academic Multicultural Initiatives.
Good afternoon. Look at all these beautiful people in here. Can we hear it one more time for our graduates? What a great honor it is to be here today to celebrate our graduates along with faculty, staff, family, friends, and loved ones. This year's celebration, from the theme of interwoven journeys to the thoughtfully chosen and crafted decoration and photo stations that you see in the lobby, the booklet art illustration, and the choosing of our keynote speaker, was all done by the Student Planning Committee. It has been an absolute joy working with the committee members. It is their passion and creativity that led us to where we are today, in this space at the University of Michigan, recognizing and honoring our unique and beautiful communities. Committee members, please stand as I read your names so that you can be recognized and honored. Yi Miao Zhang. Om Kuper Kar. Michelle Liu. Aline Calais. And then also Justin Gao, who is not here today, but still, let's honor him. I am so proud of all of you for working together to create a meaningful celebration to honor our 2026 graduates. It has been a pleasure working with you all. From my heart, I thank you all for your dedication and for this incredible year. Congratulations to Yi Miao and Om, who have graduated today. Remember that there is nothing that you cannot do. Let's give the Asian Student Planning Committee a round of applause.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you again to the Student Planning Committee for your persistent work and dedication to honoring our Asian student graduates. I'd also like to thank the Office of Academic Multicultural Initiatives and Access and Opportunity for their work and dedication to initiatives that support our student success here at the university. Now, I invite you all to stand. Okay, and thank you for your presence and for helping us honor our graduates today. Please join us in the lobby to celebrate the graduates. We have photo stations to help us continue the celebration. And it is now my great honor to officially congratulate the Asian Student Celebration graduates, class of 2026.